Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. This time I have football roster news, and in my opinion, I think it's good news as the Red Raiders have picked up a couple more late additions to the 2020 class via the junior college route. And both of them are on defense, which, quite honestly, Texas Tech's defense, that side of the roster, needs the help. They need the depth, and they need guys who they can plug in and contribute. Maybe not as starters, perhaps so in some cases, but they need guys who can step in and play immediately, at least contribute some on Saturdays. So let me break down those two guys for you. First off, starting, I think it was Friday afternoon or Friday around lunch, it was announced, or he announced, Josh Davies, defensive lineman, defensive end. He could play maybe some Raider. He's going to rush the passer for you is what he's going to do. That's what they brought him in to do. Josh Davies is 6'4", about 235, 240. Can run some. He's from Butler Community College, which up in Kansas. And Tech has gone to that well several times in the past and picked up some good players who have contributed and even on defense for Texas Tech. So, I like it on paper. You look at his stats. He had 53 tackles last season, 11 tackles for loss, and 7.5 sacks and 2 pass breakups in just 10 games last year. He was rated as the number 149 overall junior college prospect by the 24/7 Sports Composite. So I mean, he had a handful of offers, but I think the two that stand out is Kansas State and North Texas. So at least there is another Big 12 conference who offered him a scholarship, and that Texas Tech beat out to get him. And look, I like some of the young guys coming back on Texas Tech's defensive line. And I mean, you look, and then even just the veterans like Eli Howard, who's coming back for his senior season after being a second-team Big 12 performer at defensive end. So they have some players there, but I really like what they're doing, trying to add these junior college players. And I think Josh Davies is, just another step in that direction. Now and then Saturday, and this wasn't announced, but it was brought to my attention, and then I confirmed with Cameron White out of Northwest Mississippi Community College. He is a 6'1", 195-pound defensive back, and he told me that he is going to Texas Tech. As a matter of fact, he said he goes, "I'm reporting on June 5th, and I'm ready to ball." So, and, I caught up with Cam White. I said, what do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the field as a player? And he had a lot to say, and I think he discussed his versatility, which I think was interesting. I think most Red Raider fans would be interested to hear. And quoting him, here's what Cam White said. He said, "I grew up playing corner, so my cover skills were sharp. But when the coaches found out I was fast and can hit hard, they moved me to safety. What I'm going to bring to the table is a whole bunch of interceptions, big hits. I'm an all-around player. You can put me on the sidelines, meaning at cornerback, or you can put me in the box. Whatever the case may be, I'm used to it. I plan on coming to Texas Tech and making my mark there for sure." So, he's confident, which is good. If you hear him be a defensive back in football, period, you have to have that confidence. And he has some skins on the wall to back that up. Last season, he recorded 55 tackles, 2 stops for loss, and 3 pass breakups in 11 games. As a freshman at Northwest Mississippi, he tallied 27 tackles, 1 stop for loss, 3 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 6 pass defenses, and 3 pass breakups. And then, coming out of high school, he was a heavily recruited guy. He originally signed with Ole Miss out of high school, out of Madison Central there in Mississippi. But he had offers from the likes of Alabama, Arkansas, other SEC schools. So, I mean, the talent is there with Cam White. So for Texas Tech to get him, and to get him this late in, the 2020 recruiting cycle is done, But then again, it's not for Texas Tech. And for them to be able to add a player of his caliber this late in the process is pretty impressive. And so we'll have to see. Both those guys have 3 years. Both Davies and White have 3 years to play 2 seasons. So theoretically, they could play 4 games, still redshirt, and then play 2 more seasons. So, they bring a lot to the table. You could see why Texas Tech was interested in them and why they bring value. Now, look, Texas Tech has a lot of holes in the roster. This is Matt Wells finishes first year at Texas Tech just this last year. He's looking to rebuild this roster, for what he and his coaching staff see, for his team, the kind of roster they want to utilize for their scheme. And one of the ways they're doing that is by a lot of junior college additions this 2020 recruiting cycle. As a matter of fact, they've already added 7 junior college recruits this offseason. And I'm going to go through them just real quick, just give you an idea. In addition to those 2 I already mentioned, Jason Lloyd is a tight end who also committed earlier this month in May. He's a 6'4", 245-pound tight end from Cali. So he was a full qualifier, but he has 3 seasons of eligibility remaining. He'll be here this summer. Cameron Watts is a defensive back from Northeast Oklahoma State. He actually visited in March and committed back then, right before all the coronavirus stuff hit and recruiting was shut down. And then Texas Tech had 3 early enrollee junior college players. One I'm really excited about, all the junior college players in terms of who I think can make the biggest, who I think is going to make the biggest impact next year, is linebacker Krishan Merriweather. He was a junior college All-American. I believe he led the country in junior college in tackles, actually, with I believe 153. But, he's 6 foot, 230, and can run. And one of the more impressive things I've seen him do athletically is a full backflip in full pads. So that gives you an idea of his athleticism. Obviously, he likes to tackle if you're leading the country in stops. And Coach Matt Wills had a lot of really good things to say about him before spring ball was shut down. So he was coming on. He looked really good. He's going to be replacing Jordan Brooks, so big shoes for him to fill, of course. But I expect big things from him. Speaking of big, Ethan Card, 6'8", 320-pound offensive lineman. I believe he has 3 seasons of eligibility. But he's a guy I think he develop in the program. It's good that he got in early, at least got a little bit of idea of what it's like in Power 5 football to go against Power 5 defensive linemen. So I think he'll provide depth that first season, and then we'll see how he develops. I mean, obviously he's a big dude, and he might pan out for you. And then Devin Drew, defensive lineman, 6'4", 275 pounds, so he can play 4 technique. He can even slide in, maybe play some nose if they get him at the training table, really beef him up to around 290, 295. So Devin Drew is another junior college guy providing depth. And I don't know if he's going to be ready next year to really, give you what you need. But he has more of a chance than I think a guy straight out of high school, which is what they're looking for. So Devin Drew was a big pickup. He was already here in the spring. Got to see him. I can confirm he's a big dude. And so we'll see. I like a lot. I like what the high school guys that Tech got. Of course, they want to get to a point where they're getting 25 really good high school recruits, or maybe 23, 24. But right now, they have some holes to fill in the roster, and that's what they're doing. And I tell you what, they're not done. I would look for perhaps a couple more. I know they need a running back, and I know they've been looking at that position. So don't be surprised if there's as many as 2 more additions this offseason before Texas Tech hits fall camp. But with that, I want to say thank you for watching, and until next time.